This is Flip Video 2.4, the business cycle. So the business cycle is just the general fluctuations between recessions and expansions. So our economy is constantly making this little wave formation. We constantly have periods of up and periods of down and periods of up and periods of down. And that's what the business cycle is. And we have a little nice picture over here in the corner of our business cycle. So our recessions, those are the times of economic downturns when output and employment are falling. So this means we're not making as many products and our employment is falling. So we're having higher rates of unemployment in a recession. A depression is a very deep and prolonged downturn. So that means, not only did we have a recession, but we're still going down. And it's a forever long time until we have that upward swing. So expansions or recoveries are the upturns. And this is when output and employment are increasing. So this is that upward swing in our business cycle. So our business cycle technically has 4 phases to it. The first phase is the trough, and this is the lowest point in our business cycle. It's purely statistical. We never say we're in a trough because we never know we've reached the very bottom until we start to swing upward. So that upward swing is our expansion phase. This is when we start to see some inflation kick in. Again, we hope it's not over 2%, but it might. We start to see increases in real GDP or output and a decrease in unemployment. At the very top of an expansion is a peak. So again, it's statistical. We never say we're in a peak until we start to have that downward swing. And that downward swing is the recession, or another way to say that is a contraction. And this is when we have disinflation or deflation, which means our inflation is decreasing. We'll start to see decreases in real GDP, and we'll see increases in unemployment. So a recession and a contraction, the unemployment that we're going to see is cyclical unemployment. Remember, that's unemployment due to a recession. A full business cycle is measured trough to trough, so lowest point to lowest point. And we can see on this graph here, if we measure our 2 growth points, we did actually have an increase in growth, even though we had to experience a recession here. So one of the great ways to determine what phase of the business cycle we are in is our unemployment rate. So again, we shoot for unemployment between 4 to 6%. That's our goal unemployment rate that we want to have. Anything over 6 is a sign of a recession, and anything under 4 is a sign of an overexpansion. These little purple bars here are documented recessions. So in early 90 to 91, we had a little bit of a recession. You can see this orange line is unemployment. Here we go. We went over the 6%, almost hit about 8%, and then we started to decrease unemployment. And we had some great years here, right in that 4 to 6%. This bar right here is the aftermath of 9/11. So we had quite a bit. We had a mini recession right after 9/11. We went over 6%, but just a little bit. We didn't get as bad as before. Some great growth here. And then this purple bar is the Great Recession. So the Great Recession of 2008. Here we are right about under 5, and then we just skyrocket. We hit 7, and then we hit 8, and then we hit 9. So the highest unemployment rate we saw in the Great Recession right here was about 9.9%. And then we started to collect ourselves. And we had some great years of growth. We decreased our unemployment rate. Then we fell back into that 4 to 6% range. And then COVID hit. And we just went skyrocketing way up there. Economic growth can also be read off of our business cycle. So remember, the trough to trough point is our way to measure full business cycle. So economic growth is an increase in the maximum amount of goods and services an economy can produce. So, due to economic growth, products that were considered luxuries in the 1950s are considered commonplace today. So, growth is a sign of innovation, it's a sign of progress, it's a sign of technological advances. And for the most part, the US has grown quite a bit. We do have that Great Depression here, obviously, that we had a dip in our growth, but then we had some great periods of growth. And it's been fairly steady. We have ups and downs, but ups and downs happen naturally. So even during the stagflation of the 70s and 80s, we had an increasing growth trend. After 9/11, same thing. We had an increasing growth trend. But here's the Great Recession where we did fall, but we're slowly recovering from that. As we learned on GDP Day, our GDP decreased quite significantly due to COVID. So we'll see what our growth trend is going to look like over the next few years.